Play.
Hello, guys. Another ATP Weekly. If you've watched the WTA Weekly earlier, you know Vansh. And yeah, he's doing double duty today.
Yeah, fun stuff. Just did the WTA show, went out for lunch, and then now I'm back and doing this.
Yeah, Halle Queens. As a kid, I remember it used to be one of my favorite weeks of the year. Now it's pretty fun. Like it's kind of funny because now I barely watch it because I'm in Poznan every year. But obviously, if I could, I'd see a lot more of it. Anyway, I'm probably ready to talk about it anyway. Where are we headed first? I guess the word number one won in Halle. In Halle, right? So that's
Wow.
probably the biggest story. The Sinner title, the 17th active player to pick up a title on three surfaces. Musetti was trying to do the same, but he then managed to. The last person to do it, actually, Hubert Hurkacz, so his final opponent. And yeah, 7-6, 7-6. But what do you think about that result as a whole? Like, was it actually that close, or is it just a case of one set being pretty tight, but after that, Sinner kind of dominated despite still getting to a tiebreak?
Yeah, I mean, like, he won 55, 56% of the points, and it seemed like, he was largely untroubled on his own serve. I mean, just faced one break point, and that was in the fourth game of the first set. So I think it actually ended up being, the score shows it a lot more close than it really was, because there was still equality from the baseline when they did get into those rallies. But obviously, Hurkacz's serve is just going to keep it super competitive and razor tight regardless against any opponent. Doesn't matter if they're, in that elite tier one or like outside the top 50 even. But I just think, yeah, Yannick's quality from the baseline was probably just a lot stronger, and I think, yeah, overall he was the deserving winner at the end. And actually, his week as a whole, I mean, he beat Griekspoor, Marozsan, Struff. These are all quite dangerous players we would look at, and is either like unseeded dark horses or kind of in that 20 to 30 range of like people you could play in the third round if you're a top 8 seed, right? So I think from that standpoint, even if he didn't beat like any other top 10 players on the way to the title, these are all like still very dangerous, capable grass quarters.
Yeah, I agree with that, but also the way he was beating them, like it wasn't that easy, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
drops a set to Talon, he drops a set to Fabi, which I think was probably out of the free setters that he had, was probably the easiest one because it never really felt like Morozhin had too much of a chance. He just kind of stole a set there. And against Struff, of course, that was the toughest one. And yeah, I would agree that on the final, like the baseline edge was still there in set one, but obviously set one could have gone either way. It most certainly could have. I mean, there's just one weaker point from Yannick on like, one of the set points, and it goes either the other way. But in
yeah,
the second, you just felt that the edge was getting like so overwhelming. Like Yannick had so much intensity in how he was moving. It was like every game, Hurkacz would lose 1, 2, 3 points, just constantly in like small trouble. Of course, nothing crazy, but well, sometimes tennis works in mysterious ways, and the player who dominates the set actually loses the tiebreak. But in this case, it just felt like the tiebreak was a very good reflection of how the set was actually going.
yeah, definitely. It was 5-2 for Yannick in the first set tiebreak, and then it was still a good effort from Hubie to get it to 8-all, and then you felt like it was yeah, pretty tight there. But then after that, in the second set, the gap just showed a bit more, I think, from the back of the court, especially. But actually, I want to go back to what you said earlier, because it wasn't easy for Yannick in the first three
Yeah.
rounds. It was 2-all love 40 at one point for Yannick in the second set against Griekspoor, and he lost the first set in a tiebreak. So that already was like he could have almost lost in the first round right there. And against Struff, like he faced one break point, but it was 2-3, 30, 40 in the third set. And Struff at one point had saved 16 out of 18 break points. So it was starting to get too close for comfort for Yannick. But then he ended up coming out of that. And then even against Zhang, he was down a set point in the second set. So these matches were like razor thin margins, but I guess it helps Sinner for his confidence that he was able to like come through and win all of them. And now he's looking like the player to beat, probably most likely at Wimbledon, along with Alcaraz, of course, who we'll probably talk about later. But
Yeah. How much does this strengthen Yannick's position ahead of Wimbledon? Is it a big deal if he loses in that first round against Talon? Like, how much is his position actually improved given that he got through it and, well, got through everyone this week?
Yeah, probably not that much, just because we know Sinner and Alcaraz's quality that they can just work their way into a major, that they're good enough that they don't need a whole lot of reps, particularly per se. But it can only just help, right? And it will just strengthen and bolster his confidence ahead of Wimbledon, where he's just, yeah, he'll be the number one seed. He looks like the player to beat right now, marginally, I would say, but yeah, like I think there's a lot of expectations on him for a deep run, as there should.
Yeah, I was talking about this to Nick earlier because we did the stream for Sinner Hurkacz, and he was kind of under the impression that uh, only Novak Djokovic kind of doesn't fall into that whole like you need a good warm up to play well at the slam thing. I was more like, well, I mean, did you see the French Open? And actually, like they are kind of Novak Djokovic in a way, Sinner and Alcaraz right
Also,
now.
Australian Open, right? No warm ups. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
Australian Open as well. Yeah, three out of the top four did not play warm ups. Everyone was in the quarters anyway. Two of them in the final. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, two of them in the final. Yeah, two of them in the final. Sinner and Medvedev.
yeah,
So yeah, I absolutely agree that it's kind of well, as you said, it can only help, but it doesn't necessarily influence what I think of them before that set slam.
yeah,
And I guess especially after the French and the Australian Open, that's kind of where I stand. So even if Yannick lost early to this week, I would have still like put him as top two favorites, top one favorite pretty much for Wimbledon, but of course not by a large margin probably.
yeah.
I don't remember what else I was supposed to say about Sinner actually, but we can talk about Hubert Hurkacz right now because I put forward this pretty controversial take on the show and also on Twitter later that Hubert Hurkacz is the number three favorite for Wimbledon, which
Yeah,
I think is true. It's just the fact that that number three is extremely distant.
yeah, yeah.
it's
That's
not
that's
it's
kind of
not
what I
like
was.
2022 even, right? When you had
Yeah,
Djokovic, boom, and then it was like Berrettini, Cilic, Hurkacz, Nadal. Berrettini and Cilic didn't even end up playing in the end, but of course it wasn't their fault. Whereas right now it's definitely like the top three spot is very far from the top two. But I think it might be Hurkacz.
yeah. I think it might be like, I mean, but it's such a distant third that I didn't even think about it. So it could be, it could be. I was like, is it Medvedev? Is it Hurkacz? Like, I wasn't really too sure. Like, but they're probably in the same tier for me. But maybe Hurkacz, yeah, just because of what he did 2 years ago. But I hope he doesn't like, get himself embroiled in like a five setter and a set tiebreak early in the tournament, and then all of a sudden like he doesn't go for that deep slam run, because he did 2 years ago. I mean, he was in the semis, but obviously
Freak.
then the year after that comes to mind. Oh yeah, 3 years ago in
Two
2021.
years ago was actually an example of what you just
2 years ago, right,
talked
against.
about, right? He wins Halle, he goes into the slam as like a top five favorite at the very least, and he loses to Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in the first round. Sure,
Yeah,
brutal draw, but we know that he played awful tennis there until he like kind of barely stayed in the match and
yeah,
then still lost it in the end.
yeah. That's kind of what I was going for. But yeah, I mean, sure,
US
why not?
Open last year as well. Everyone was pretty much putting him into the semifinals, right? But I think he was ill there, so it's kind of a different story. But it all adds up sort of into
Yeah.
like a bit of a Hurkacz underperforms at slams a lot of the time.
But if
Not
the
at
draw is really good, he might not have to worry about what we're saying. Like if he gets more of a clay courtish type player in the first couple of rounds, or but if he ends up getting like, I don't know, Greek sport in the third round and like Dimitrov in the fourth round, then I'd be a little bit worried.
Yeah, Grigor in the forefront would be brutal. Last year he got that sort of draw, right? I mean, I think his first round was Ramos Vignolas, and then the second round was going to be either Choinski or Lajovic.
Yeah,
So
very
that was like
handy.
a total dream draw. He still had to save, I think, 3 set points against Choinski, but he went through them without dropping a set. And he also beat Musetti in the third round in straights, which was quite a bit of a surprise to me that he didn't drop a
Yeah,
set there, actually.
same.
And of course, against Novak, we all know that, well, he could have done more, but it was still a great performance.
Yeah, Yeah, it was still a pretty good showing from him. Managed to get a set, and then yeah, he had all those chances in the tie breaks.
So yeah, I mean, my take basically about Hurkacz being the number 3 favorite is kind of just based on the other favorites. A lot of them were in Halle, actually. A lot of sort of like maybe not favorites, but the usual names that we would be putting in that tier, just being not that good on grass. I mean, you've got
Mm,
Tsitsipas, who got
yeah,
just blown off the court by Struff. You've got Andrei Rublev, who
I probably have
lost to
Tsitsipas,
Marco
Ruud, and
Medvedev.
Rublev all a tier below. Would you agree with that? Like, I probably have Medvedev, Hurkacz,
Yeah,
maybe.
Tsitsipas and Rublev, yes. Like they're probably not gonna get that far to even meet Hurkacz. But then
Yeah,
you also have Medvedev and Zverev, and I mean Zverev gets beaten by Hurkacz for the first time in his career in their fourth meeting in Halle here. Of course, Halle had different conditions, but still, I mean Zverev's super passive baseline approach doesn't seem to be working on grass. And Medvedev, whom Hurkacz has already defeated twice at Halle and at Wimbledon, defeated twice on grass, of course, because he's also beaten him on hard courts. So I mean, that's why it kind of looks pretty good for me. I mean, of course,
yeah,
that's all assuming Novak Djokovic is not just gonna come out and rip through the draw.
yeah. I agree with that for sure. I mean, there's also Berrettini, dark horse maybe, but yeah, like it's like I don't know who else out of these players is really like a standout number three. You know, is it Medvedev? Is it Hurkacz? Is it Berrettini? Is it someone else?
It's probably Daniil to me, but
Yeah,
there is a bit of a credit there. There is some sort of trust that I've built up for him, but now he also needs to sort of like confirm it.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it might be Daniil who's like the standout out of these others. I think putting Berrettini in there is a little bold. Like it might be a little early, but I do treat him as like
right.
a super dangerous
If
contender.
he's
Like
healthy and like,
Sinner draws
yeah,
him in the second round, Alcaraz draws him in the second round. Upset alert. But yeah, I don't know. Just sort of thinking of him as like a tier 2 favorite to win the whole thing. It's maybe a little much to me. Sean says, was that Hurkacz shot better than Sinner diving shots? Yes.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure. That was a crazy shot. Yeah,
Haven't seen that in a while. So I would say yes. I don't know when the last
yeah,
instance of that shot was on the ATP Tour. Federer Rotterdam against Bemelmans, but that wasn't as perfect because he didn't actually pass him. He still needed
yeah.
to finish it off. The previous one was probably also Federer or someone like that, or like Kyrgios. No, I don't actually remember Kyrgios hitting that. Kyrgios in that position always goes for a tweener, so Kyrgios would never hit it actually.
That's true.
Hello, MA. Um, yeah, from Halle as well. So yeah, I just mentioned sort of like all the favorites that were there, sort of all the big names. Was any of them like a particular disappointment to you out of these four? Tsitsipas, Rublev, Medvedev, Zverev, any of these guys who like underperformed in Halle relative to what you expected?
Um, I don't think I would put Zverev in that category, but maybe
Mhm.
maybe just Rublev again. You know, losing to Giron. I mean, that's Giron is a good player, but it's still just like I thought at least in a tournament like Halle, Rublev would be able to get some more be able to go a little bit further with the draw he had, but at least get to a Berrettini or Hurkacz or something. But that didn't quite work out. Tsitsipas also was just blown off the court against Struff. Like that match was just never close. Like it was like even a 6-4, 6-4 makes it looks closer than it was. Medvedev, he just didn't really close on Zhang, but Zhang came up with some incredible returns at the end and like played a really awesome tiebreak. So I don't know if I would be that surprised by him going out, but maybe Rublev. But then again, like yeah, Tsitsipas, Rublev, Rude. I'm just not expecting that much from them at Wimbledon. So my expectations are quite low for them.
Yeah, and yes, Sean Agassi definitely he hit that shot pretty famously for sure. Probably the most famous instance until today. Now, I mean, he's still gonna remain the OG, but Hurkacz will be remembered as well. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like Tsitsipas was not really. I wasn't really considering him that huge a favorite. I was thinking maybe even Squire can get to him, which I think Henry ended up winning like 85% of his serve points. He just lost the tie breaks.
Yeah.
And Rublev against Giron, yeah, it's just kind of wild because he seems to have dropped that consistency, that steadiness, that floor that he was praised for the last few years. But at the same time, he has an ATP 1000 on his ranking.
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah.
I guess he still has something, at this season, and actually one of the biggest successes of his career, despite losing that whole steadiness that he had. And he's actually very close to getting overtaken for number 6 by Hurkacz as well. Could literally be just Wimbledon.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, it will still require some good result from Hurkacz, given he was in the 4th round, I think, and Rublev was, well, where would Rublev end the slam? In the quarters last year. And yeah, Medvedev, Zverev, I don't think these were disappointments. I think my
Yeah.
expectations for Zverev are just that's sort of this,
Yeah.
semi-final to Hurkacz, good stuff. But Medvedev maybe a little, but I just don't think it will really impact his position ahead of Wimbledon either.
Same.
The
Yeah.
fact that that's the joint. Anything on these, yeah, kind of like unexpected performers? Jian Zhang, who else was an unexpected performer? Maybe only
Defense,
Jian Zhang.
maybe.
Arthur Fields.
Yeah. Feast getting to the quarters, taking a set off of Zverev. Pretty good result there. Yeah. I mean, Feast to win 2 matches on grass, taking out Kupfer and pushing Zverev is a pretty good effort, I would say, for him in his young career so far. And also the win over Mahat, I thought that would be a little bit tighter for sure. We ended up beating him in straights, and it was actually pretty comprehensive. So that was definitely a matchup I thought he would struggle with more.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
seems like an opponent sort of like designed to take time away from his forehand, but
Yeah.
that never
Chris
really
also had a pretty good
materialized.
week. He was up 5-2 though in that third set against Zhang. And then, yeah, he
Oh,
just
yeah.
missed a bunch of first serves when he was serving for it at 5-3. And then, yeah, Zhang just was the more overpowering baseliner once the rallies were extended a little bit. But yeah, that was a pretty good showing for him. And I think Zhang is honestly one of the more dangerous unseeded um, players. Anytime in like a big 1,000 or a major, he's now shown it on all surfaces. So he's maybe perhaps a little bit overlooked, but not maybe not so much now anymore because we've seen him kind of replicated over and over again the last 1 year. So
Yeah, I feel like people in general just kind of don't care about these players who
mm,
don't really get consistent results, but like are
yeah,
just so dangerous you know, just on a given day. And
yeah,
there's a lot of like Jian Zhang
there's a
disappointment
lot of
whenever
them.
he loses
Yeah,
5 matches in a row. But what people don't realize is that it doesn't matter. Like he's just gonna have his good performances every year somewhere. They're
yeah,
not gonna be this month, but they will be next month. And well, so far he's kind of just par for the course. I think this year, absolutely.
yeah. It seems like there's a lot of players like that on the ATP tour now, right? Like they could go on a 5 match losing streak. They could be like 50% against players outside the top 50, and then they could just be like 4-2 against top 10, and then it wouldn't really shock anyone. Even like Nicholas Jarry sometimes more or less falls into that camp, and
Yeah,
he's
I
like,
think Jari is aspiring to be a little bit more, but yeah, like the Zhang and Marozhans of the world, sort of
yeah,
Watanuki, if he was still around and not injured for
right,
most of the year. That was kind of the same mold, I guess. I'm pretty sure there's someone I'm missing right now as well, but yeah, certainly there's a few
Marozhan
like
maybe.
yeah, I mentioned the Zhang and the Marozhans of the world. That's what I
Marozhan.
said. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah. That's kind of the main two examples that come to mind for me. And they also emerged at a similar time. So I don't know. Maybe we have that sort of era right now, or at least, have a moment for players like this.
yeah. Daniel Altmaier on the clay maybe.
Yeah, Altmaier is so weird because like he gets these wins in a very different manner. But I mean, 4-4
Yeah,
against the top 10, I can't really, just say it's not out there. Like this record actually exists. But he
yeah,
gets them so like yeah, it's just not the same as Shankar Marozhan. But somehow the top 10 record is even better. I
right.
think Fields also has a very good top 10 record, but I guess he's also aspiring to be
Yeah,
something more than
I
than
guess
these
there's also
guys.
Umber, but now he's sort of proven that he's a top 15, top 20 player. Like he's more consistent now.
Who?
Ugo Humbert, you know,
Umber, yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah,
he's
yeah. You're
still
right.
top of
Umber,
my
Umber has
favorite.
definitely taken the
But yeah,
step up to like not
yeah,
be in that conversation. Yeah, but obviously yes, that's also a guy who had a very good top 10 record for a long while, and it was sort of better than his ranking than
yeah.
his other achievements. Yeah, I think we might move on to Queens unless you have something more to add about Halle.
No, I think I've covered it.
So in Queens, we had Tommy Paul taking the title over Lorenzo Musetti. I don't really know where to start, honestly. How big is this for Tommy Paul? And he's also playing Eastbourne, which I was kind of surprised by. I mean, do you really
Yeah,
need it if you are going for a deep run at Wimbledon?
yeah, I was a little surprised by that too. Maybe he'll just play a couple. Maybe he won't have a long week there. But yeah, I mean, Queens. I was kind of thinking, you know, once Carlos lost, even though he plays Carlos really well and he has a good record against him. But I was thinking, like, once the Jack Draper upset happened, I was like thinking, okay, this might be a good week for Tommy. Like, maybe he can actually go all the way, just because I don't maybe normally associate him as like being extra special on grass, but just like how plastered he is, like on the baseline, how willing he's been to come forward this year, and just like how good of a mover he is, and he seems to be able to change directions pretty well. He's getting more out of his serve, like just all the qualities and stuff that's made him, like, you know, number 12 in the world where he is right now. I think it makes sense, like why he went on a run he did this week, and it's still, yeah, like the biggest title of his career. And yeah, for the most part, he was quite convincing in that final against Musetti, and it started to get pretty tight at the end. And the second set was a pretty fun watch actually from both.
Yeah, I mostly missed it. I did kind of think that he's a good skill set at battling Musetti, though. Just
Yeah,
the way he takes time away, just, rushes Lorenzo the way the other opponents maybe weren't able to this week. And of course, that's something you gotta do to him, especially on a court like this. Just not allow him to have fun, to work his magic. I have a funky question for you because, well, someone kind of hinted at this to me about an hour ago, maybe. Who out of all the Americans is gonna go the deepest at Wimbledon without seeing the draw? This is kind of brought by that question that I got an hour ago,
mm,
but also by the fact that Sebastian Corda beat Tommy Paul last week
yeah,
and then lost to him this week. And you also have Shelton, of course, who's kind of like, well, a total unknown at this stage. You've got Chris Eubanks, who is defending quarterfinal points. I'm pretty sure you've got someone else I forgot. I mean, Taylor Fritz, obviously. Frances Tiafoe, probably not. But I mean, these are kind of like the 5, 6 options you could probably go for. And I don't know what's the best answer right now. I know what Ghosty
yeah.
thinks is not the answer, but it might actually be my answer.
It's a good question. Like for ahead of Roland Garros, I felt confident in Fritz being the right answer, but just by a little bit over Paul, because I thought Paul could also match him or maybe do just as well. But this one, yeah, like I'm actually like really not sure, like because Shelton could lose anywhere between, like, you know, the first round and the semis. Like it just nothing would shock me in between that. Tiafo, I don't really see as a factor at all, unfortunately. Corda, Corda, Tommy, and it's between Corda, Tommy, and Fritz. Like I just don't know. Like in some ways, I always like to think that Corda has a higher ceiling than those two. But then he also just has those days where he's like, let's say he's playing like a pretty good fast baseline, or like someone just so much more steadier, like Alex de Minaur in that final, and and then he can't just win, you know, quick points. Then there's always that question of like, is his forehand going to hold up? And like a lot of the times, it hasn't been the case. Like his, you know, the 3 years ago he played that really good match against Hachinov, lost 10-8 in the fifth set, and I was kind of thinking like, okay, like Porta on grass, like it just fits really well, and he's probably going to get further during the week. And then last year, you know, he said that he's a contender for Wimbledon, and then he lost in the first round a year yesterday. So it's like I don't really know. I'll probably just be boring again and say, do I want to be boring and pick Fritz again, or do I want to go with something different? That's always the question, right?
Marcos Giron is always there.
Yeah,
Alexander Kovacevic.
Giron is a good pick to like get to the third round, maybe. But I don't know. Like I'm gonna say I'm gonna actually go with Paul. I feel more confident that he can maybe sneak out a quarterfinals this year.
Okay.
I'm gonna
I
go with
would
him.
go Corda. Yay!
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Last year he disappointed us all. Semifinals was where we had him.
Yeah,
Semifinals was where everyone had him. I don't care about your ghosty. I don't care about me using the word everyone. It was literally everyone who had Sebastian Corda in the semis because
I think because
that
we were thinking of the Medvedev matchup, and we were thinking like, okay, he's
yeah.
gonna beat Medvedev.
And besides Medvedev, that quarter was pretty weak. I mean, Chris Eubanks almost made it to the semis there for FS,
Yeah,
FFS. Anyway, I mean, yeah, I think that Corda has a good chance. And I don't know
okay.
about Tommy Paul. I'm maybe focusing on this too much, you know. I know this is his choice. Like it's possible, yeah, he can lose early, but I hate the fact that he even wants to play Eastbourne. If you're thinking seriously about a slam and you win the 500 2 weeks before it, withdraw already. Go ahead, screw that event. It's useless. It doesn't give you anything. It can only tire you. And I am going with Sebastian Corda.
What about Eubanks last year? He won Mallorca, and then he got to the quarters. Like I'm just saying, it's
He
possible.
didn't win Queens though, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
didn't have that momentum. Like Shelton is playing Mallorca as well, and I don't blame him for it because he's 0-2 on grass this year, right?
right.
And like that's good. Like that's what you want to do. But like if you want Queens, what the hell do you need Eastbourne for? And I know he was in the
Yeah,
final last year, was
maybe
he?
that's what it is. Yeah, just the finals last year. We lost
Well,
to.
he might as well withdraw, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's Sunday, you know. It's not like he can't withdraw. But
yeah.
anyway, I would like to see Corda the furthest because
Okay.
it would be a great story, and I
I,
think
I
he
would like
actually
that
has
too.
that grass
Actually,
game.
that
He has
yeah,
that grass game.
he's beautiful to watch on it for sure. Because he just looks so effortless for him, right? Like when he's moving and he's just got that, like just the way that he's
Yeah.
hitting his forehand.
It's beautiful. Like on the
It
technical
is.
level, it's beautiful. And I love the whole narrative, you know, right now about Sebastian Corda. I love the fact that Ghosty is just constantly slamming him. I love the fact that I'm just, you know, gonna be like, yeah, Sebastian Corda, you know, let's go. Everyone knows that he can disappoint you, but you do it anyway. Today I picked Otto Virtanen to make it for Wimbledon qualifying, and I just said, I know, but you know, the section is nice. And someone pointed it out in the comments. And I was just like, you know, I'm getting ready for all these people saying, why are you doing this to yourself again? Why are you walking into the same trap again? And I'm just gonna be like, no, I'm picking Otto Virtanen. Life is great, and I'm doing the same with Sebastian Corda. I'm gonna have
Okay.
Sebastian Corda in Wimbledon quarters, unless he plays like Matteo Berrettini in the first round, unless he plays Sinner Alcaraz early as well. But you know, I don't care. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. I mean, your enthusiasm is now off the charts for Sebastian. I was not
I
expecting
just
that.
love this whole thing, you know, because of what happened last year. You know, the fact that he put himself in as one of the favorites for Wimbledon, and he loses to Ishi Vesely in the first round, and it was hilarious. And no offense to Ishi Vesely, but you know, he just shouldn't be beating players that are favorites for Wimbledon at this stage of his career. And there's no
Yeah.
Ishi Vesely this year. I mean, he might go through the qualifying. Maybe that's what Sebastian Corda will be afraid of. You know, this week he decided to skip an event. He's just going to be sitting somewhere and watching Wimbledon qualifying on his laptop and hoping that Iji Vesely loses. Tomorrow, Arul Mayo, Corda is rooting for you.
Oh, it's funny. Like the thing is, if he would have won this, he would have been maybe seated 16th, right? If Djokovic pulls out, or he would have been 17th in the rankings, and then he would have been. So he kind of needed to win Queens for that to happen. But now I'm just starting to think like who could play him in the third round, and then I'd be a little bit worried.
Where has Hisler been? I mean, he's playing, you know, he's just awful right now. But he plays Cressy in the first round. And I think the winner of that match might qualify. Might, because well, it's Hisler or Cressy. I mean, they can lose to anybody, but it's a very good round one. I actually picked Marchenko to get out of that section, which is another bold pick. But that's because I didn't want to touch
Yeah.
Hisler or Cressy, basically. I just have no idea who's gonna win this match. Um Djokovic is playing Wimbledon. Okay. Um
Wait, he is?
I
Like
don't know.
definitely?
John said that in the chat. Maybe it's
Or
his
that's just
opinion.
your. Is that your opinion, or has that been confirmed?
I don't know.
Because if it is,
That's what
that's okay.
that's what I read in the chat, but I don't know.
Okay.
Um, I guess I wouldn't expect it to be confirmed at 11 p.m., but
Yeah.
that's kind of my guess.
Well, he's there right now practicing, right?
Yeah, it is John's opinion. But yeah, anyway, Queen's Club. Tommy Paul, Tommy Paul, Tommy Paul. So Lorenzo Musetti, the finalist. He's really done some good work with his grass game, and it's kind of surprising. I mean, he's had these insane emotional reactions after the semis and the quarters, which I know
Falling to
some
the ground.
people were laughing about on Twitter. But
Mm.
well, I mean, he kind of said that it's just so important for him because his season on the clay was so bad. I mean, he had these two Challenger 175
Yeah.
finals, but I guess he doesn't treat them as like proper results, which I get if you have Musetti's ambitions, sure. But yeah, he's actually rounding into form on grass, and it's the second year in a row as well.
Yeah. He has some good qualities that work on the grass. He has a pretty good like block return. His slice is pretty good on the backhand, and also actually the forehand. Forehand is like really opening up, and I think in the previous years he just wasn't quite sure how to utilize all those like tools and instincts that he had, and maybe he was just. I think he's still pretty prone to being rushed against the right kind of player, but I don't think that part has changed a lot. But I just think like he's found his footing and he can just get out of that jam a little bit better now. Like he's not just coming over every single topspin backhand on the return. Like he's really more strategic about like using the chip, making other players come forward. He's getting himself into all those cat and mouse exchanges, which he absolutely should because that's where he thrives. But like, yeah, and so yeah, it's been working. Like in the first round he could have crashed out to Diminor in straight sets because he lost that first set 6-1, and then he faced like two break points and two different service games at the start of the second, and I was like, okay, like this could be a blowout you know if Diminor keeps playing like this. But he actually turned that match around, and yeah, at the end he looked like so much the better player. I don't know how much of that was like fatigue from the great week that Alex had last week, or it was just the craftiness of Musetti just being too good on the day. But yeah, like he actually got all the way to the final. He made the second set pretty competitive, close. Was it the most challenging route after the Diminor? Probably not. I mean, but he could have also lost to Brandon Nakashima, right? Brandon Nakashima had a pretty easy second serve return error that he did at 4-all in the third set. He could have served for the set and the match, but nonetheless, Musetti, yeah, pretty good result.
Yeah, he's actually a very good server now too, as well, at least on the grass.
He has this
Sure.
flat serve, especially down the tee, that gives him a lot of free points.
Yeah, it was the same last year as well. Like there were some matches when he was just unbreakable with it. I know it sometimes comes to a total crash, like today or against Berrettini in the semis. Like it obviously has a cap on it, but there
Mhm.
are a lot of players who cannot handle that fire, and that's why I was actually that surprised that he lost to Hurkacz in straights last year at Wimbledon. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was already a very solid grass campaign. Maybe he can become an Ons Jabeur type of figure. When you just sort of thrive on the natural surfaces. Berrettini type. I mean, Jabeur and Berrettini are both good on hardcores as well. Okay, but like there is some sort of natural surface preference for them. I guess we haven't really had that many recently. Who's going further, Musetti or Berrettini? I mean, still probably Matteo, but it depends on the draw.
Yeah.
Matteo can draw literally anybody in the first round, and of course Musetti. Well, actually, is Musetti seeded? He should be, right?
Yeah, he's going to be seated.
Yeah, I have no idea where Musetti is in the rankings right now. I literally have no idea.
I think
But
he's like
it should be like
24,
20
25.
something, right? Yeah,
Maybe, is he going to be 25 or 24? Let's see, because that is
yeah.
important. 25 right now, but it all
It's so
depends on.
weird because like he barely gets points, it seems, but he still has them. But yeah, in this case, I think it's really draw dependent. It's just like Berrettini can
Yeah.
play Alcaraz or Sinner in the first round, and I think he'd have a decent-ish chance of beating them, but obviously can also lose to them very easily. There's also one more thing that I wanted to say about this Sebastian Corda thing. The best thing about this whole like let's go, let's pick him to the quarters thing is that he loses in the first round to Brandon Nakashima, and we're all just gonna have a laugh. And he goes to the quarters actually, and we're gonna be like, woo, woo, let's do it. Yeah, hip hip hooray. Anyway,
Mm.
never mind. Sebastian Corda, you don't deserve another mention on this very show. Anyway, who else was
Wow.
there in Queens? Tommy Paul, Lorenzo Musetti, and of course, I'm forgetting who else was in the semis because, as I said, I was like kind of out of the loop for most of it.
Thompson, right?
Oh, Jordan Thompson, the best grass courter out there. I'm glad that he regained that form because I was kind of afraid he was going to do a Manarino, just lose all that momentum on clay courts, and he's back.
Oh, yeah, he's back now. He had a pretty good week. I mean, obviously there was the Murray retirement, which was not really a match we're talking about. But then decisive one was the Fritz demolition in straights. I actually did not see that one coming. I thought Fritz would have so much firepower that it would actually not be in Jordan's racket, but then he actually was able to neutralize Fritz's big serve, get into those base sunrise. He was just so much better at the net than you would expect, and like yeah, he just completely outwitted Fritz and outfoxed him so many times, and actually yeah had his chances in the Musetti match as well, but he just Musetti got the decisive break at 3-4 and then served it home. There wasn't that much in between them, so yeah, I don't know how much more there really is to say about it, but he's probably another guy who could I don't know, can he make the second week with a good draw maybe, right?
Yeah, I wish he had a seeding for it, but I don't think he will, right? Yeah,
Doesn't look like he'll be seated now.
yeah. Zhizhen Zhang can be seeded for Wimbledon if Djokovic pulls out, or if no, actually the Hechka has pulled out, so Zhizhen Zhang will be seeded at Wimbledon.
Yeah,
Fils can be seeded if Djokovic pulls out, or anyone else pulls out for that matter. But yeah, um, that's actually quite interesting that Zhizhen Zhang will be seeded for Wimbledon, but Mariano Navone as well will be seeded for Wimbledon. Which,
yeah,
well, that also happened in Queens, 5 games against Draper. I guess it doesn't sound that bad, but he won 4 points on return, one of them being a double fault. So he was kind of like miles
mm.
off. But, well, I mean, it is what it is. Of course, he has a lot to learn.
So much of this
Anyone.
just depends on what seed you get, right? Like if you get Sebastian Baez or you get Mariano Navone, you're in
Yeah,
you're in
you're in amazing shape. So that's for the 1-8 players, right?
yeah, and then I guess for the
Well, actually,
17-22
bias no, but bias is gonna be for the um,
for the 9 through
9-16
16.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why the Musetti being 25 is key because if Djokovic pulls out, he'll be 24th. Versus if
Mhm.
he's 25th, then he could play Alcaraz or Sinner in the third round.
But yeah, in Queens we also had Alcaraz, whom you mentioned. He lost to Jack Draper. We kind of hinted at this talking about Sinner, but it's really not a big deal ahead of Wimbledon, right? I mean, Jack is super
Yeah,
strong, probably like a top 10, top 15 power rankings guy,
yeah,
depending on like how high you want to put him, like pretty much on subjective opinion. And Alcaraz should still be dangerous unless he like draws one of these extremely tough ones in the opening rounds, which are actually getting like there's a bit less of that now because Raonic is out.
yeah. I definitely have to say, having watched the match, I was not at all. I did not think Alcaraz played bad at all. Actually, he put up a pretty decent level, but Draper was just excellent in the second set in particular. And yeah, maybe a few loose errors from Carlos in the tiebreak, but I don't know. Like I feel like that level gets him through a lot of matches on this surface. It was just Draper was just exceptional. Like especially break point down. He comes up with this ridiculous like backhand volley, half volley, like in the forecourt that he had just it was just played to perfection. And then the way he got the break with just this flat backhand and coming in and finishing at net, and he was really really good in the second set, I would say. So I don't think it's worrying for Carlos really at all. I mean, he just won he just won Roland Garros, so like I mean, didn't maybe have the he didn't look like he had the ability to work his way into this one because I mean his draw was tough right from the beginning. Cerundo and then this and then potentially Paul and Corda, etc. Like it definitely felt like yeah, Alcaraz was in danger of losing that match. But then of course yeah, like I also think if this was best of five, he probably finds a way out of it. But yeah, Draper just continued that momentum from last week and then yeah, and even played well against Paul, but he's the only one that actually took a set.
Draper's fitness being brought up in the chat, best of 5 resume. Honestly, I don't care about these things. Like fitness on grass, it's not going to be a big deal. He, the best of 5 resume, he shows up at the US Open last year almost without any prep and he goes to the fourth round. I mean, at Wimbledon, he obviously didn't play in 2023, but he was perfectly fine in 2022. Beat Zizou Bergs in 3 sets, lost to Deminor in a great clash in 4 sets. I just think it's all about the draw, but being a seed obviously helps. And unless he gets like a very tough top 8 seed, which would be like Sinner, Alcaraz, maybe Hurkacz if he's a top 8 seed. I think he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like these guys, unless he gets like these guys in the third round, and against Hurkacz, he would be very live. I think he's gonna have a good time at Wimbledon. To me, I think the fourth round, which Matthew mentioned, is like kind of the expectation rather than, you know, something that Draper will do well to do. Like that's the expectation for him to make the third/fourth round, depending on which seats which seat he gets. Who beat Draper last? T-Paul. Ghosty, which I know you know,
Draper
but
hasn't been to a fourth round of a major yet, right? I don't think he
fourth
has.
round, US Open last year.
Oh, he got to the fourth round and lost to Hurkacz. Okay.
Yeah, no, he beat
Or he
Hurkacz
beat
in the
he
second
beat, he
round.
beat oh he beat
Lost to
Hurkacz and then
Rublev
he
maybe.
lost to Rublev. Okay, Rublev. That's the
Yeah,
one.
he beat Hurkacz when Hurkacz was ill, but still, it was a good run. Fourth
Yeah,
round.
that was
I
a
think
good one.
Mario had him in the quarters there, just kind of like it was a good positive thinking peak. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I think that's kind of more or less it about Queens. We also should mention what we have in the title there, since, well, someone might be expecting it. There's some confusion regarding Murray's Wimbledon participation. And just before the stream, I kind of led Vansh to this. And yeah, Ghibli is also mentioning another funny social media
Oh
thing
yeah.
that Tommy Paul girlfriend, Fred. But
Yeah.
there's also Jules Marie, the French tennis YouTuber slash tennis player who is currently the second alternate for Wimbledon qualifying, who texted Andy Murray today to say, "Hey Andy, do you want to withdraw until 10 a.m. Basically, because I am an alternate and I would like to get in." And he's not even the first alternate, so he's hoping for 2 withdrawals there. But the whole thing is about the Telegraph publishing this report that Andy will not be able to play Wimbledon, but it's not official. The ATP posted about it at first, but then they deleted it. So yeah, I mean, no one really knows what's happening. If Wimbledon, well, that's kind of what we're talking about, Ashley. That the Telegraph claims he's not, but officially he is still on the list. And if he knows that he's not gonna play and just hasn't pulled out, Luka Van Asch should sue him. But if not, I mean, if he's still fighting to play, sure,
Oh
then go
gosh.
ahead. Like then I have no problem.
Yeah. Is Luka Vanash, is he like on the cutoff or what?
Yes, he's the first alternate, and he is in the qualifying draw. And by the way,
Oh,
Ghosty, you mentioned Duckworth earlier. Duckworth will very likely, well, actually, I mean, by now I think we can just say that he won't get in to the main draw, but he is in the qualifying. He is in the fourth section. He's the fourth seed, and he has a very nice draw. So if you really are rooting for James Duckworth there, I think you will like his Wimbledon qualifying draw. And yes, Luka Van Asch is the first alternate. So in case Murray would withdraw tomorrow before the qualifying commences, Luka Van Asch will be moved to the main draw, and Alex Bolt will enter the Wimbledon qualifying draw, whereas Jules Marie is just hoping for 2 more withdrawals, for Murray and 1 more withdrawal.
that's so funny though that he actually texted him and then posted that and was like, I'm
Yeah, let's
waiting.
see if he gets an answer, right?
Respect for doing that. It's so funny. Um, yeah. I wonder about Djokovic. Yeah. Gene is saying Djokovic might withdraw tomorrow.
Yeah, he's supposed to get that decision done soon, but like I don't think if he's withdrawing tomorrow, is he gonna do it in the morning or is he gonna do it later? I don't know. These players, to me, I mean, time and time again, these players just don't care, about
They
the
don't really care
ICs.
about the qualifying people. Yeah.
Yeah, these players don't care about the qualifying, and they just don't care about the fact that for some players, like it can really mean, the difference between, let's say, staying alive financially and not, and the difference between making ends meet and not doing that. So I don't know.
Should they
I
think more about that? Like, should that be in their decision making? You think, like, for the better of the game?
I think if you already know that you can't play and you have but there's basically no difference for you, but one of the decisions makes one other person earn, I don't know, 60k pounds or something like that, you should
Mm,
probably do it, right? I mean, if it makes no difference to you, if it like makes absolutely no difference, if they still hope to play and they are just going to be deciding, let's say on Wednesday, Thursday, that's fine.
yeah,
Only if you absolutely know and
yeah,
there's no difference for you. I don't know.
yeah.
There was something as well. Is Team playing this? Team is playing Mallorca, which I think we'll mention in a second, the Mallorca and Eastbourne events as well. But Team is
Mm.
playing Mallorca. He did not sign up for Wimbledon qualies and he did not get a wild
Wow. Okay.
card. Yeah. Anything else to add about that Murray Djokovic thing?
Not really. I mean, I think we'll know about Djokovic this week. Murray, if you were to guess, would you say he plays or probably plays it on the safe side? For him, it's tough, right? Because it's his last Wimbledon, most definitely, probably, right? But he just
Yeah.
so if you want to go out, like this is the place to do it.
I
It's
don't
not
know,
gonna-
Ghosty, if in this particular case, but there were definitely some others when people were complaining about this. Yeah, I think Andy, if he doesn't play Wimbledon this year, he should probably come back next year for like the doubles or something like that, Just
Yeah,
it would be just ridiculous if he doesn't show up at Wimbledon one more time. Like I don't think we can allow it to happen. Like we need to write a petition or something. I don't know.
yeah, he should definitely come back just for doubles or for something. Maybe play the legends, like Ash Barty now.
Yeah, I know it's possible. Yeah, the legends, but like I don't know. I just don't care about the legends.
Yeah,
Like just not in the slightest. And doubles at least is an actual sport.
yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know anybody who actually watches it. So
Yeah, people always claim that they're gonna watch the legends, but no, I mean you're not going to. They're not even playing there. Like they're just having fun, and it's fine. But if I can choose a match
yeah,
that's actually played for something, and there are actual stakes, then I'm not gonna be watching players like Sebastien Grosjean and Paul-Henri Mathieu take on Mansour Barami and whoever Henri Leconte. um anyway, that really doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean today I don't know, I think my brain is fried. I'm recording like the fourth or fifth thing today, so sorry guys if some of what I've said has been outright just throw it into the bin, forget about it. Anyway, Eastburn, there's something about Eastburn in the chat, and let's talk about that actually. So we have the first seed Taylor Fritz there, American Power, and we have the second seed Tommy Paul, American Power as well. Tommy Paul, I've already said some things about regarding his Eastburn participation. Taylor Fritz though kind of needs the momentum, and
yeah,
I
he
find it
needs it.
funny how Sebastian Baez also has a buy in this draw. And
Mm,
well, that will be one lucky Kecmanovic or Zhang who
yeah,
who plays him in the second round. There's also Kei Nishikori playing Mariano Navone, so I guess it's a good
okay.
opportunity for Kei.
Yeah,
Anything
it is.
else that you're like excited to watch in this draw?
I haven't even looked at the draw to be honest. So I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I mean, me neither really. So
Uh, who else is? I mean, it's really just Tommy and Taylor, number one and two. Who is number three? Who's the third seed in this? Let's see.
Alexander Bublik.
Oh, okay, yeah, he could use something maybe. Has he slipped in the rankings a lot after Halle? Probably not that much. I think he's still going to be seeded, right? He's still going to be seeded 17th to 24th. He picked up a lot in the first half of the year, pre
Yeah,
Halle.
he's in his gritty era, right? So he's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Because Montpellier title, Dubai final. Yeah, he picked up quite a bit.
Well, he's gonna be 23rd, so I guess he's right now.
Yeah. Davidovich
So
Fokina, is this your week? No, I say that a lot and then he just never happens.
We're kind of waiting for it though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he's
it's
also
not
one of these
happening.
players where like you just
How do you not have a title yet?
yeah, like we're also he's also one of these players where like even if he's out for like 5 months, not out in terms of injury, but just doesn't do anything for 5 months, you're like okay because you know his weeks are coming, and I don't know. So far, they're not coming this year.
Yeah, but like still, most of his tournaments end in a first round loss. Like it's
Yeah.
just he's one of the most confounding players of this generation because we know the talent is there, but he's just somewhere always around 30 and 35.
How about a big rank for Yuncheng Shang? He plays Echeverry and then Nori or Rusuvuori. All of these opponents are kind of flopping right now.
I think so. Yeah, that's a good defense.
Although Fritz, I don't know if he would beat on grass. Probably not, is my answer. And there's also a friend of the show, Liam Brody, getting an appearance in Eastbourne, and he's supposed to be back for Wimbledon as well. Is Kyrgios playing Wimbledon? Ashley, no, but he's supposed to be back at something later. I don't remember where it was, but something.
Laver Cup?
I don't remember. But oh, maybe it was that exhibition at the U.S. Open or something like that. But no,
Oh,
not
yeah,
Wimbledon. And yes, Ghibli, Shapovalov will win the slam. We talked about this today with Nick. There's this famous tweet that was made at the beginning of the season where the champions at the Australian Open and the French
Oh,
Open champions were
nah, I know who made that
picked
tweet.
correctly by a friend of mine, yes. And then Wimbledon was Shapovalov and
Was that Sedan who
Ons.
made that?
Huh?
Sedan?
Yeah, it was Sudan, yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's on a good streak there. Actually, yeah, maybe.
He is, yeah.
Yeah,
Four
that's a
out of
good streak.
six. I mean, four out of six, 4 out of 10 already, and then Shapovalov, Ons, I think, is for Wimbledon, and then Holger and Naomi for the U.S. Open.
Ooh,
And
yeah,
I
I
think
think
for
it
the
was
Olympics, it's like what Swiatek and someone I don't remember.
Swiatek and
Maybe
Alcaraz again, maybe, right?
Alcaraz again. Maybe I'm not sure.
That's the one that I would trust the most.
But this is like the Korda thing, though. Like, let's imagine this works. Like when Shapovalov is in the semis, everyone
No,
is gonna be throwing that tweet around Twitter.
it's not really gonna
Everyone is
happen.
going to be retweeting it. It's going to be screenshotted to death, and it's fantastic. I love this. I love this story. I love this whole thing. I mean, what's also super fun to me is that people actually are outraged by that tweet. When someone sends it out now, they're like, "No, but Shapovalov has no chance." Like they're treating as some sort of serious prediction that he made at the beginning of the year. Like, Jesus, man. Ah,
Yeah,
anyway.
basically, we should just go all wild and go so bold in this pick. Like actually, because
Yeah.
3 years ago, like a lot of people picked. Like I was one of the ones who picked Chapo to the semis. It seemed very realistic. But this year, like, there's no way, dude.
There are 150 Grand Slam winners predicted by Alex Kraskin in this draw. I don't know what this is referring to, but that's funny.
Oh gosh, Alex Rushkin. I'm
Is
sure there's
Alex
some college
is Alex
players.
just giving everyone a Grand Slam title? I'm not sure.
Yeah, for him, the mix is like a mix of 100. It's funny.
Uh, yeah. Anyway, we also have Mallorca, the other grass event, of course. That's the one that Chris Eubanks is defending, as he is now arriving at a very important moment of his career.
Oh
One
yeah,
could call it a true crossroads. I mean,
I think I checked.
600.
He'd be at 138 in the rankings if he doesn't defend any of these.
Yeah, but he already saved some. Is that after
That's
Halle or is
that
it
was before Halle, so maybe now it's a little
okay?
better.
Yeah, so he saved a little bit of that.
Yeah, and he said he doesn't want to go back in the challengers and grind again. So honestly, he might just.
I'm sorry, Chris, but it's not your call.
I think he
I
might.
mean,
He might just retire. That's what I'm saying.
he's not gonna do it, right?
Not immediately, but he might give it a shot and then decide. I'm better off as a commentator and a pundit.
Yes,
Get more
actually,
money. Yeah.
Djokovic. It was Djokovic. He lost to Shapovalov in straight sets, but a pretty decent match. Smooth in the
Nobody's
corners.
asking
That's
about
actually
Mickelson.
smooth in the corners. That's actually a very good Graskin quote. And there's also fluid as well. Alex always says that someone is a very fluid mover out of the corners, and yeah, that's a very gross. That's a very Alex.
The outer thirds.
The outer thirds. That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like Graskinisms, or however
Oh
you want to call
gosh.
them.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain nobody's as optimistic as Alex is on every player. Actually, he was not optimistic on Jakub Mensik. We had a huge discussion at the
Oh
end of
really?
last year about Dino Prizmic and Jakub Mensik, and he said that he doesn't see the weapons in Jakub Mensik's game. I was like, what? He every the weapons are all he has for now. But yeah, he had to say, okay, you were right. But of course, I also had to say some things like that to him before. For example, about Alex Mikkelsen,
Mm.
whom he was very high on from the very beginning. Although Ghibli seems to claim that he's very high on everyone from the very beginning. Everyone but Jakub Mensik.
Oh gosh.
I like how a lot of this chat is suddenly now Alex Graskin. But anyway,
All he
Mallorca.
has to do is just make the top 10 and serve and hold and break percentage. If he makes the top 25,
Hold and break percentage. I
hold
love
and
that
break
as well.
percentage,
Yeah.
top 25, he's a golden. There you go.
Dino has gone away a bit on top level tour. Where is he? I mean, well, after the Australian Open, he was first like not good enough to win matches consistently at the challenger level because, well, he kind of
Mm.
wasn't. But then he also got injured. So he was out for like 2 months and he's been back since Roland Garros qualifying, kind of struggling to get traction right now. But he is in the draw for Wimbledon. He actually has a nice one in the first 2 rounds, I think. I remember that the first one is Clement Tabour. I think the second one might be Gaston or Mochizuki. And then that would make it the Kukushkin section. So, I mean, it's gettable for him. I don't know what sort of grass game Dino has, but I think Prizmic is just going to be like, it's going to take him years to actually get his game going. I think he will at some point. But at this point, it's kind of like a shell of what he needs in the future, like consistently win matches. Of course, in some matchups, he's already going to be amazing, like the Djokovic one at the Australian Open. Mikkelsen Manarino rematch of the Newport final. Is that actually a thing in Mallorca? Let me see. Because I actually haven't looked at this draw yet either. Oh yeah, Manarino Mikkelsen. Because Mallorca was already today. Like they already had 3 matches today.
Yeah, Nicholson beat
Bautista Agut only
Burgess.
lost 1 game to Taro Daniel. Carballes Baena won against Carreño Busta. Pablo Carreño Busta, of course, was in Poznan last week, so a pretty quick switch for him from clay to grass. And Alex Mikkelsen beat Nuno Borges, and indeed, it's going to be Manarino and Mikkelsen. Yes, this is the last year for Newport, Ghosty. Yeah, anything in Mallorca that excites you?
Dominic Hanfman, dark horse? Or actually, no, not dark horse for Mallorca, but like, could he be a title contender this week for Mallorca? Probably, right?
Yannick Hanfman?
Yeah. Is that a thing
guess.
on grass?
I don't know. I'm not a fan on grass. Yeah, altitude
I
play.
think he made a deep run last year, right? Like he got to
He
the
did. He did. It was like the semis or the quarters. Yeah,
yeah.
he did.
Hijikata could be another tricky opponent for Ben. What have you made of Shelton so far? He's 0-2 on the grass. He's not been that great in general for the last 5 or 6 tournaments.
I mean, the beginning of the season, he was just like super consistent, right? Like winning 2 matches every single event, and that's gone now.
Right.
So now he needs the highlights again. I don't know, man. As you said, like he can actually make the quarters at Wimbledon easily, but he can also bomb out in the first round. He's lost to Duckworth and Becci Pericard.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst losses in the world. But let's say if he loses to Nardi or Hijikata here, because I think that's his draw, right? Yeah, Nardi or Hijikata, that will not be a good sign. He should be beating players like this, like pretty comfortably, I think, on grass.
Monfils versus Team, 2 players who just Monfils has never actually beaten Team. It's like 6-0 for Team. And Team returning back to the site of his unfortunate wrist injury.
Does Shelton's game suit grass? On paper, yes, but he hasn't really made it work yet.
This is a funny section with Carballes, Baena, Carreño Busta, Team, and Monfils. All players who don't like
Yeah, I mean, you can actually see the winner of Monfils' team making the quarters easily because, well, he's going to play Carballes Baena on grass in the second round.
And then lose to Humbert, probably.
Probably lose to Humbert or Bautista Agut, yeah.
Mm.
I guess not that much of note. Darderi after his great grass court debut in Halle, I wonder how he will
Oh
do.
yeah, that was really
Uh,
surprising how much he pushed Struff.
yeah, it was like 8 match points that Struff needed and saved one, I think. It was a crazy first
Yeah.
set tiebreak. But yeah, that's more or less it about Mallorca, really. Maybe we're gonna get some unexpected champions again. Maybe Chris Eubanks is gonna defend his title. I don't think Franz Cerundolo is trying to defend his title in Eastbourne, but it could be. It could be. Anyway, Humbert Chapo final. Is Shapovalov in Mallorca? What? Did I just miss him?
No, is he talking about
Oh, okay.
Wimbledon?
So you're
Yeah.
talking about Wimbledon. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know which one of them beats Korda though. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Corda.
not sure.
There you go. That's your final four: Hurkacz, Corda, and Umber and
Then
Chapo.
Shapovalov, yeah. Juan Manuel Cerundolo for
It's your
Wimbledon,
dream
no
top
doubt.
four.
That's kind of tough given he's not playing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't think
And
he's playing it, right? I mean, I don't remember seeing him in the draw actually.
Surrendo.
Well, yeah, he just won back-to-back titles in Santa Cruz and Lima,
Yeah.
but actually the other way around, Lima and Santa Cruz. But yeah, I don't think he's in the draw. Yeah, so probably not gonna win Wimbledon, but maybe he comes back for the U.S. Open. Maybe Juanma is just gonna win U.S. Open. Why not?
Yeah.
Benjamin Bonzi. Benjamin Bonzi is in the Wimbledon qualifying, and he has a pretty decent section. I think he plays Peniston in the first round, which is a tough draw. But if
Mhm.
Bonzi's improvement after Ilkley last week, a semi-final from the qualifying, maintains, he could actually be a threat in that section. I don't remember which one it is. It could be the Kukushkin one. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a pretty even section, and Bonzi is like among the contenders in there.
Who
UK
is? You want
Loving
to talk about
Harris.
Wimbledon qualies?
Yeah,
Already?
we could, but I don't know what we can really mention. In a few minutes. Obviously, it's such a massive draw. Is there any particular player story that you're excited to follow?
Is it just? It's just is Petchikart going to qualify? I mean, like his
Yeah.
his section of the draw. Does it look pretty doable for him?
Oh, it's super weak. I
Like
think.
you
Yeah.
would just you expect him to qualify, right? It doesn't look that strong.
Nava
The
is the only
names,
threat. I think. Um,
right?
I really don't see any other threat than Nava, and that's even with Mpechi Pericard being like such a lottery player on grass.
Hmm.
Ashley, I think Rafa is hoping to play singles at the Olympics. Any UK wildcards to look out for, says Sean. You mean at Wimbledon? Billy Harris can definitely win a match, I think, in a good draw. Jacob Fernley, who won Nottingham, is like kind of just an unexpected package altogether. Henry Serrell, the Wimbledon champion from the juniors last year, I think definitely could win a match as well. It all depends on the draw, obviously, but I've seen Harris a fair bit. He's average, says Ghibli. I suppose you mean Billy or not Lloyd. I don't know, but yeah, Billy is definitely quite average. But he's just hitting well, big game. Like, why wouldn't he win a match at Wimbledon with a good draw? I mean, there's good draws even among the seeds. You can get Navone, and then Billy is a big favorite. You can get Bias, and then Billy is probably the favorite. So why not? But yeah, Pachi Pericard, I think to me, his section just looks really easy. Bergs also has a similar one where like you just expect him to go through. Lloyd Harris as well, maybe. Although the first round is a little tricky. Duckworth, whom Ghosty keeps mentioning, and yeah, I was right about that Prismic, Bonzi, Kukushkin section. Yeah, that's an actual
What about Fonseca? Does it look doable for him in that section
big
against
story.
Philippines and
Big story. I went with him.
yeah,
Not too convinced, but well, he lost on the grass this year to Brandon, right? To Billy Harris and to James Duckworth. So all the players we just mentioned, literally. But
yeah.
yeah, he lost to like some big hitters, and I just don't see any big hitters in that section. I don't see anyone that will punish him for like not being too steady yet on serve and maybe not being able to, yeah, just hold as efficiently as some other players can and just keep that level from fluctuating. I don't see players like this that will punish him. I think actually Moro Kanyas might be the toughest opponent he has there. He's round one draw. because Jacquet or Gigante, like these are just variety bots, and I think these guys are very good for Fonseca, just with his overall, let's say, natural footwork for grass. And do you think Hamad Medjedovic will make the Wimby main draw? Asks Matthew. Seventh section, if you're looking for it.
Yeah. Possible Grigor Barrera maybe in the third round. Rodionov, and he should get to his first two rounds pretty comfortably, right? Against Rincon and
Zhukayev?
Jukayev.
I don't know. I mean, in Hamad's section, what I don't like is the fact that it can be a lot of like just botting contests. So you have Zhukayev in the second round, you have Barrero Alice in the third round, and that's kind of good for Hamad, but also, well, it can just be tiebreak lottery, right? And especially against Zhukayev, I think. But yeah, I do consider Hamad the favorite there. I don't think it's as clear cut as at the French though, where we kind of knew that if he beats Pui, he qualifies. It's not like that here. Like just the possibility of having more tie breaks and stuff, and just the margins being so slim. Him probably not being as much of a natural on grass either, just kind of having the big weapons. But he did it last year. I think he beat Billy Harris in the final round actually, and lost to O'Connell in 5 in the opening round.
What about potential Gabriel Diallo versus Terence Adman in the third round?
Well, they first need to get there. I think Adman has Albot in the second round, which I picked Adman for because he beat Albot in Ilkley, but Albot has so much experience playing qualifying, playing grass, playing Wimbledon qualifying. Who is the opponent that Diallo has in the second round? Because there's Dugas against Diallo, that I know. Aziz Dugas, of course, friend of the show. And then there's someone tough in Diallo.
Galan maybe, and
Galan potentially, but I guess I just don't trust him in this form, despite the runs last Wimbledon and 2 years ago as well.
The other one I was looking at was potential Tim van Rijthoven versus Goffin in the second round.
Yeah,
I
wish that team was ready for it. He probably isn't, right? Goffin has a pretty tough third round potentially with Bellucci, but I am pretty high on him potentially qualifying. I think Goffin after Ilkley. I know it can be tough with the fatigue and stuff, but I don't know. Just seems like he's the best player in that section, like by a country mile right now.
Yeah.
Of course, team great stuff in 2022. Hertogenbosch, Fritz, Auger-Aliassime, Medvedev, but it's just like just one match so far, right after the comeback, and it was a pretty rough performance as well. And Matthew says that it's going to be hot in London this week, so fast conditions. Tomorrow, the first round of the men's draw. Tuesday, the first round of the women's draw. Second round on Wednesday, and Thursday, it's the third round. John will be happy to know that the draw will be made on Friday when the qualifiers are hopefully already done.
That is how every major should be.
Exactly. I know he always advocates for that. I didn't know Vansh, you did as well. But
always.
Provided there's no rain, that's how it will work out at Wimbledon.
Yeah. Ashley says, so Rafa is planning to play both, right? But doubles with Carlos.
Yeah.
So both. Yeah.
That's the plan. We'll see if he needs to adjust it. And I guess that's more or less it, right?
Yeah.
We chatted about some friends of the show. We chatted about some crazy predictions that maybe will work out, maybe they won't. We know Sebastian Korda is making the quarters, Hugo Humbert in the final, Denis Shapovalov taking the title. And I'm excited for the qualifying and excited for the draw. Mallorca and Eastbourne, I'll watch some of it.
Yeah. Actually, this week... Oh, no, never mind. That's the week after. Yeah, same here. I'll be really excited about mainly the draw on Friday, and some of these qualifying matches look good too. So,
all right. If we have nothing to add, clearly, then we have probably managed to get to the end of the show. Thank you to Vansh.
Is it a Wimbledon story? What story is this?
There is.
2018.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a story there, but okay. I was basically just on the site, for the finals, and I landed. I landed actually an hour after Djokovic and Nadal completed their epic semifinal. But I like to say that I was there while it was kind of happening because I wasn't like on the site, but I was like 5 minutes away. Okay, so it was the fifth set. So I was there, but not there on site. Let's put it that way. I was actually in line also during. I was in line trying to get in to watch some of the women's final, but by the time I was in line, true story, the match was already over between Serena and Kerber. So I ended up going in that day, and I was just watching. I was watching Legends. I watched Jack Draper play the boys juniors. I watched Iga win junior Wimbledon. I remember
So
getting a photo with
someone
Fernando
actually
Gonzalez.
watches the Legends.
Yeah, I got a photo with Fernando Gonzalez. I still remember that.
Nice.
Yeah, those were basically the highlights of. And I tried strawberries and cream, which by the way is awful. Do not recommend. Oh,
Great story. Yeah, I mean, if you were there on the original stream when this story was unveiled, you probably laughed now. If you weren't, you probably are
that's funny.
confused. But yeah, we kind of just had Vansh saying that he was there, and we were like, something in this story doesn't quite track.
Yeah,
But yeah, Vansh saw Iga win Wimbledon. That's
I
that's
did.
that's the moral of this. That's I think the best takeaway from this show, that Vansh saw Iga win Wimbledon.
I did.
And well, uh, it's- yeah, I'm lost. Anyway, that's it. Sebastian Corda, go to the quarters. I dare you. Iji Vesely will not make the main draw. And yeah, anyway, thank you guys for listening to this bunch of BS that I said today, and for to Vansh's actually, analysis and stuff,
Yeah.
whatever.
This is the
And
perfect
yeah,
Patreon episode, dude. Perfect
yeah,
Patreon content right here.
we were on two different
So
episodes kind
subscribe.
of today. I had my own episode, which was just like the vibes, and Vanch was on the analytical theory stuff, and yeah, I think it combined into a pretty great ATP Weekly as usual. Thank you, Vanch, for doing double duty today. I kind of did as well with the Halle final.
Yep.
Just let's remember that. But well, of course, it's different. ATP Weekly, WTA Weekly. You had a lot of Vanch today. You had a lot of me as well, and you're gonna keep having us for the rest of the season, really. Whatever content is coming up next. I think John's in Bad Homburg maybe next week. Yes, he is nodding. You can't see him, but I can. And basically, thank you guys. Keep tuning into this whole thing that he's going to be putting in there on the channel, and also the watch alongs and the streams and the shows and the draw and everything. Oh, the draw. Sorry. And yes. Good luck to Mario in Mallorca as well. Yeah, good luck to Mario in Mallorca. Good luck to Sebastian Corda. Good luck to Tommy Paul, just for Ghosty's sake. And yes, we'll see you some other time. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.